Thank you. If I don't start recording in the beginning, I always forget. Thank you for that reminder. So liberation from what? Liberation is from false beliefs, false actions, false knowledge, negativity, anger, upset, undesirable thoughts, freedom from guilt, freedom from resentment, jealousy, hatred, pride. This is the liberation from. Okay, and this is the true liberation. Just like we understood what is true renunciation. True renunciation is not renunciation from your actions. True renunciation is renunciation of attachment to the results of actions. Right? Similarly, liberation is from these negative feelings, emotions, thoughts, pride. So ultimately, meditation is silence and presence of mind, which means that we can live our life a lot more effectively. Because where does life happen? Life happens in this moment, here and now. Life doesn't happen in the past, and life can definitely not happen in the future. The only possibility of living life, the only time you're living life is here and now. If you're not happy now, you will never be happy. There's only one time to act, and that act is now. So if you're procrastinating anything like tomorrow I will do this, tomorrow I will be happy when this or this or this happens, you will never be happy, because happiness is a choice we make here and now in this moment. So what meditation is not, that's very important to understand. Meditation is not about gaining anything. Once I remember there was an anecdote that I had read. Somebody had asked Mahavir, what have you gained from meditation? And his answer was what we are talking about here. He said, I've actually not gained anything, but I've lost a lot. I have lost my anger. I've lost my pride. I've lost my ego. I've lost my guilt. I've lost my resentment. Right? So meditation is not about gaining anything as much as it is about leaving the baggages that we have been carrying for eons of time. It is not about getting anywhere. It is not about improving yourself in the way that societal beliefs are recorded. You're not improving yourself on parameters that society might count you on in a material way. Meditation is not about that. Meditation is not a replacement of Karma Yoga. It never has been, it never will be. It is not a replacement for virtuous conduct. Okay, so there is no getting away from Karma Yoga. There's no shortcut. It is not a solution to all your problems. The solution to all your problems will always come in this world from taking action, taking appropriate action. And that is why we need to be always focused on. That's why we start from Karma Yoga. Now, when you think about it that way, imagine if Karma Yoga is like meal, like food. Meditation is like salt in the food. It enhances the quality, the taste, and the experience of food significantly. That is what meditation is. So it is not replacement of the meal. You can't just eat salt, as a meal. So meditation is not something where you it will not replace your life. If you think you're going to spend hours and hours, 12 hours I'll spend in meditation, and I will not do the duties that I have as a Karma Yogi, that will not cut it. Okay? So it can't replace living your life. It can't be your life. I remember there was another anecdote I read where I was actually surprised to hear that they were some of the closest disciples of Buddha, and they meditated like 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours a day. Closest people to him, they still fought amongst themselves, and all their lives, despite all the meditation they did, they were oblivious to Buddha's teachings. They thought they understood it at an intellectual level. It never came down to an action level for them. So they never really realized it. So we always have to be very careful about meditation from that perspective. What is the ultimate goal for everything we do? It is to get Gyan. It is to get liberation. And how does liberation happen? When we start to change our behavior. So if we are doing rituals, if you're doing meditation, if you're doing karma yoga, if you're doing all of those things from an action point of view, but it is not you're doing nam jap, you're doing all of those things. But if it is not translating into a change in our everyday behavior, in how we act with all the VVGP for the new people in the class, VVGP is Vyakti, Vastu, Ghatna, Paristhiti. Right? If our behavior with the VVGP around us is not changing, then there's something wrong. Then we are just doing rituals and we have lost the game. It has to translate into behavioral knowledge. Okay. And finally, when you think about meditation, when people talk about meditation, when you go to any course, you would hear there is so much of bliss that people talk about. You will reach this bliss, you will reach that bliss. It's important to remember that that bliss that is promised from dhyan, yoga, or meditation cannot come from meditation alone. Okay, love, compassion, empathy, all these virtuous behaviors are a must. They are a bedrock on which the bliss from meditation will flower itself. Okay, so a few more things that I thought were very interesting and for us to always remember. So meditation is not a panacea, right? It is not an answer to everything. It will not help you get back a loved one. It will not help you, get if you've lost a limb, it will not help you get that back. If you have a boss who you are not connecting with, who's a very difficult to deal with boss, if you have an abusive partner, meditation will not change any of that. What will it really do? Meditation is a very personal journey. It's a very intimate personal journey. It does not have direct impact on people around you. If at all, in some cases, it will create an indirect impact. So meditation will change who you are. It will change how you behave in VVGP. And when you change your behavior in VVGP, you have an impact on people around you. You create a massive ripple effect on people and situations around you. And through that, there will be a change in your life situation. Okay, but it isn't as if like you'll start meditating and people around you will start changing, or your actions or your situation. VVGP will come. Those issues will keep coming. That will not change. It's just your ability to respond to things will become much better. Okay, so this is the basis we must remember when we come into meditation. What it is not. Okay. With that understanding, let's start the Shloka 11. Anita, would you like to read? Connection after Shloka 10.
I didn't attend a couple of classes, so I have to look for my page number. Do you guys have a page number?
Yeah, chapter 6, Shloka 10. People who have the new book. Or
196. 196.
Okay, thank you. Connection. Now some direction are given about the place and seat of one who wants to pursue this discipline. Sorry.
Shucho deshe pratisthapya.
Say it.
Sautecha.
Shucho deshe pratisthapya.
Suchau teche pratishtapya.
Nice. Sthira masana matmanaha.
Sthira masana manaha.
Natyuchritam nati nicham.
Natyuchritam nati nicham.
Chailajina kushottaram.
Chailajina kushotaram.
Shucho means pure. And deshe means the place. Pratisthapya, establishing. Sthir is firm. Asan, sthiram is firm. Asanam is seat. And atmanaha, yourself. Natyuchritam, not too high. Nati nicham, not too low. Then Chalajina Kushottaram is a reference to the things that you will use to create your seat, which is bush grass, deer skin, and cloth, which must be placed one on top of another.
In a clean spot, establishing a firm seat which is neither too high nor too low and consisting of kusha grass, deer skin, and cloth, one over the other. The seat and the place of Dhyana Yogi. For such a Dhyana Yogi, the requirement of seat and place are given below. The place of meditation should be clean and there should be no impurities around it. The seat should neither be high so as to endanger of fall, nor should be too low for insect to crawl over the body. First, small mattress of kusha grass should be spread. This would not allow the moisture, cold or heat from the ground to go up, and so it will act as insulation. Over this deer skin should be spread. Care being taken that the skin is of the deer who has a died a natural death, and not one killed for the purpose. In the later case, the violence involved will vitiate the entire practice. The deer skin does not allow the insects to climb up. Over this piece of cloth should be spread to make the seat soft.
So this is where we start. We're in the next couple of shlokas, there would be a certain amount of like technical conversation around how to sit and how to be when you want to do meditation. So the seat and the place, it's all very practically designed, right? Everything is practical and scientific as to like why you need to do something. So very clearly, and before this, you're expected to take a shower. Why should you be taking a shower? Because it really makes your entire body fresh. Your mind, body is fresh. Wear fresh clothes, wear loose clothes. Don't allow anything to be tight, because when you start to meditate, those are exactly the things that are going to take your dhyan away. So wear something loose that will not irritate you. So wearing loose cotton clothes is typically what is preferred. You should sit in a place which is quiet and which is clean. So hygiene is important. And like, for example, you're not going to sit in kitchen and meditate. Just the smells of everything that goes on in a kitchen is going to distract you at some point of time. So sit in a quiet place, not have a place where your phone should be switched off. Otherwise, phones will disturb you. People will keep coming in. Your children. You need to think about all of that a little bit to start your practice, to enable your practice, however small it may be. The seat should not be too high, should not be too low. Otherwise, it's just from a practical point of view. Now, this has been written a long time ago, right? So now these things are not that much of an issue for us. The third one, what exactly the seat should be. So in modern time, all you need to do is have a blanket, right? A blanket seat is typically considered very good. There are also meditation seats that are sold in the market. They're typically not very thick. And when you sit on top of that with your legs not on the seat, slightly low, it helps you keep a certain posture, which is very good. So that, or a simple flat cushion or something, these are typically decent seats to have when you're sitting down, but slightly elevated. Don't sit on the ground level directly, right? So, and the reason is it will help your posture a little bit better. It helps you keep your spine erect. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about it in 12 and 30 shlokas. Let's move ahead. Who would like to read? Rituj, will you read with us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
After specifying the place and the seat of meditation, the Lord next specifies the practice of meditation.
Oh. Tatre kagram manah kritva.
Tatre kagram manah kritva.
Yachittendriya kriyaha.
Yachittendriya kriha.
Upavishyasane yunja.
Upavishyasena yuncha.
Udyogmatma vishuddhaye.
Udyogmatma vishuddhiye.
Tatra kagram is ekagra karke. Ekagra means concentration. So get your mind, basically concentrate your mind. Kritva is doing. Yat chittendriya kriyaha, controlling, exercising control over the senses. So all your indriya or your senses should be brought under control. Upavishyasane yunja is we have to do the action of yoga. Okay, for what purpose? For the purity of atma. Vishuddhiye, purity of atma. So the purpose of yoga is not, if you're doing, for example, if you're doing asanas, the purpose of yogasanas is not to acquire, agility or flexibility of body. That is a byproduct. Okay, and it is a necessary requirement for your body to be in that space to be able to even do dhyan yoga. So it is important, but it is not the end goal. It is either a side product or a stepping stone towards dhyan yoga. So all of this is important to remember. Otherwise, what happens is when we start the practice, we start to keep very small petty goals. I'll go for yoga. Today is my yoga day. I'll go for my yoga because I'm doing, it's as an exercise to me. That's a very, you can do it, but it will just, you're not using this is called karpanya dosh, right? What we always talk about, where all the resources that are available to us, we're not using them properly. We are using them in a very stingy fashion. We can use yoga to do so much more, the asana, siddhi, hati yoga, whatever you're doing, to do so much more, but we end up having such small goals in life. Okay, so that is the karpanya dosh. So that karpanya dosh is inherent in us at every step of the way, because we constantly keep very petty goals for ourselves and our actions and our life and how we deal with people, how we deal with our life. And that is why every day in our invocation shloka, we talk of Karpanya dosh. We do that entire shloka where we pray to Bhagwanji, please release me of this Karpanya dosh and guide me to what is my ultimate welfare. Okay. Let's read.
Seated comfortably thus, concentrating his mind and exercising complete control over the functioning of the senses and mind. The yogi should practice yoga for acquiring purity of the inner self. The practice of Dhyana Yoga. The important point to note is that the aspirant of Dhyana Yoga should sit in a posture suitable for being comfortably seated, unmoved, and firm for a long time. In the Yoga Sutras of Maharshi Patanjali, the definition of the word asana or posture is given as being one in which one can sit comfortably and firm for the duration of the meditation. For this purpose, three postures are generally recommended. They are Swastikasana, Siddhanasana, and Padmasana. Gradually, an aspirant should practice one of these postures for sitting without movement and without any aches or pains for at least 3 hours continuously. The next point stressed in the shlok is that seated firmly and comfortably, the mind of the aspirant should be fixed immovably on the thought that the objective to be gained by concentration is to achieve purity within.
So this shloka is all about asanas. So we must understand the asana a little bit better. What is an asana? What is a posture, right? So asanas are essentially, and there are 84 basic and most important asanas in Patanjali Yoga, right? 84 basic asanas. You don't have to try and do siddhi in all of them. Any one would be good enough. What really are asanas? Asanas are postures that make your body a channel or a passage. So there are hatha yogis who will spend their entire lifetime trying to perfect only one particular asana, just one asana. And they can spend an entire lifetime to do it, making small adjustments, trying to see how to make it just perfect. Okay. So when you when you do that, why do they do that? It is because they are going to achieve, this is the path they have chosen to go towards liberation. They can actually achieve liberation by just following this path. And why so? Because body is actually the gross form, the physical body is the easiest one to work with. It's the grossest form. So the grosser it is, the easier it is to control, the easier it is to work with. So it is the easiest thing to control. And when you can sit in an asana comfortably, without any aches, without any pains, for a period of 2.5 to 3 hours at a stretch, then it is said that you have achieved asana siddhi for that particular asana. So if you go down that route, there are 84 basic asanas. You don't have to have siddhi in all of them. You start with one, and just one asana siddhi will then lead you slowly to get better in all of them. But the starting point just needs to be one. So you focus only on one. For the purposes of meditation, there are 3 asanas that have been talked about. Typically, when you talk about meditation, they always talk of, in the initial stages, it's always a sitting meditation. So you sit down and do it. And the 3 postures that have been talked about here are swastikasana, siddhasana, and padmasana. So we've always heard of padmasana. That's easy for us to know. Swastikasana and siddhasana, from the best of my knowledge, seem very close to each other. Okay, I will show you some example, but I'm sure the adepts here can actually give us a lot more insight into these asanas. So I'll first show you the Padmasana because I think it's the most common one and it's easy for us to know, right? So this is Padmasana, where both your legs are on top of each other, the opposite thigh, okay? If you actually get into this posture and you do Siddhi in this, it is the best posture to do very, very serious and long meditation because it locks your body in a way that you will simply not slouch. Your back will automatically, in a most easy manner, remain straight. It is very, very good, but it is not easy to get to that asana siddhi. So there are 2 other asanas that have been talked of. It's not that difficult either, so don't make it like, oh my gosh, like, but yeah, you don't start with this. Start with swastikasana, and then you go to your ardhasana, and then you get to full padmasana. So this Ardha Padmasana, in certain cases, when I was reading up a lot more about it, I wasn't sure. It depends on what you are reading and who's talking about it. I guess we should always be going back to the stalwarts in this name, like BKS Iyengar and all. They'll give us exactly which posture is what. But for to start with, right, without getting too technical, without making it too tough on ourselves, right, just to get started, a swastikasana or a siddhasana, which kind of look very similar, are these. Essentially, you take one leg and place it directly against the thigh, okay? And then put the second leg on top. Now, this leg in this case is like on top of the other leg. The same thing can go a little bit deeper inside this groove as well, right? So they both are kind of similar, like this person sitting here. You can see this is much easier to handle. The typical way in which we sit, when we do when we sit cross-legged, that here we don't touch our feet exactly against the thigh and all, and so that's called sukhasana. So sukhasana is definitely no, because you will very quickly slouch. You will sit and then you will go down like this. Okay, so your upper back is going to go down, your lower back is going to come out, and then everything is going to start paining very quickly. Okay, so sukhasana is a no. Start with swastikasana, which gives you a little bit more, a little bit more support. Sit on a slightly elevated meditation seat, whether it's made out of blanket or a cushion or whatever. Sit slightly on an elevated seat with your feet on the ground, so a little bit ahead of the seat, right? So your feet are not also on the same. Same this thing. It allows us, when we are not when we don't have the entirely good posture, it helps us to retain a better posture. Okay. Now, if you get deeper into just the asana siddhi space, not just asana siddhi for meditation, people will actually tell you that they are using their entire body as a way to enhance their perception. Okay, the entire meditation and this asana siddhi will help you enhance your perception. Why is that important? Because everything that has happened in our life is because of how we have perceived life. And everything that will happen in our future will be because of how we are perceiving. If we change our perception, our experience of life and our expression of life will change. That is why asana siddhi, it will impact your perception, and hence it will have a deeper impact on your the quality of life that you're going to live. Now, if there was only one posture that you had to practice, that would be simply keeping your back straight without any slouching. If you can do that, and that's very important now, by the way, because you anyway have to do it for swastikasana or padmasana, but you should not just think about it when you're sitting down for meditation. This is a posture you should focus on, something we've heard of since since we were kids. Keep your back straight, keep your back straight. How many times our teachers and parents have told us? There's a very strong reason for this. Having a straight back makes your entire body, you've seen people with it. If you go for these body language classes and all, the first thing they will focus on: straight back, tuck in your tummy, shoulders back, keep your chin level on the ground, not up, not down, chin level. There is a reason. Everything where you hear, there are same principles being talked about. When you look at it from a yogic perspective, yogis will say you have 3 nadis that are going around in your spine, right? So you have Ida, Pingala, Sushmana. There is energy. There are 7 chakras that are placed alongside these 3 nadis. When we sit straight, when we hold a proper posture and with our chin being parallel to the ground, this entire experience allows the energies to flow more effectively. And when that happens, it has an impact on our aura. That is why people who have a good posture, they will typically have a better presence. We don't know why it happens because we are not aware of their aura, but we know that they seem to have a better effect on people. Their ability to communicate with people is much better. It's because their aura is bigger, brighter, cleaner, because their energies are flowing better. Okay. This alone is going to change the quality of your physical life. Just holding your posture correctly. The number of diseases that get created because energies get blocked, a lot of them will be reduced away as well. So just focus on sitting straight, walking straight. When we sit, what do? We will typically go and, this is the very common form of sitting, right? Upper back against something. Worst form of sitting, worst. When we sit, upper back should never have any support. It should be supported by your lumbar, your lower back. Ideally, you don't need, if you have a strong back, you don't need any support for your lower back or your upper back, ever. But to begin with, if you have to sit, you sit on a sofa, you go back and sit deep so that there is take support on your lower back and allow your upper back to be fully aligned with the lower back. Now, initially, when you start doing this, and especially when you start to do meditation, you will experience, because otherwise you may not experience if you're just sitting around and not doing, if your focus is somewhere. For example, when you're sitting and working, your focus is work. So you may not realize until after a very long time, oh, I'm feeling tired, I have lower back, I have upper back, right? Pain and all. So in meditation, you will very quickly start to realize it because you're doing nothing else except focusing on your breath or focusing on something else, right? Your body will start to scream very, very quickly and start taking away your attention. You will realize there is lower back, there's upper back pain. This upper back pain will slowly go. If you have that upper back pain, just lie down for some time, stretch your muscles. All of those things will help you. It will take you up to 6 weeks of practice to develop enough strength in your body to stop having pain between your shoulders in your upper back. So when we sit down, we should have full focus on not slouching. This is such a common way of sitting. You think you're being comfortable. I do that all the time until I remind myself, ooh, sit up straight, right? So this is one thing. If there's one thing you take away from this class, it is this. Every day, focus on your posture, whether you're walking, whether you're sitting. Eventually, you will develop enough strength to get to a space where you will be able to do what is being asked of us. 2.5, 3 hours. It's not easy to get there, right? Very, very difficult. We'll all start with, when you start with your meditation practice, Start with, typically it said 30 minutes to 45 minutes, but honestly, if you have to do 45 minutes, don't do 45 minutes because you're going to like go away in your dreamland very quickly. Start with 15 minutes. You want to do 15 minutes twice a day, 15 minutes thrice a day, but you do it with full awareness is more important. Okay, we'll get to that also later on. But yeah, I mean, I think I just wanted to really leave everyone here with this posture thing, what we've heard of so many times. We just don't know how important it is for us. We kind of ignore it all our lives with and hold poor postures. Right? Stop the share here. Okay. Go to the Shlok 13. Vijay, would you like to read with us?
Yeah. The Lord now gives certain directions about relative placement of various parts of the body.
So this is where we'll read what we just talked about in the asanas, right? Samam kaya shiro grivam.
Samam kaya shiro grivam.
Dharayanna chalam sthiraha.
Dharayanna chalam sthiraha.
Samaprekshya nasikagram swam.
Samaprekshaya nasikagram.
It's not sama. I think we did it wrong. Samprekshya nasikagram swam.
Samprekshya nasikagram.
Swam.
Swam.
Dishashchana valokayan.
Disha chana valayokayan.
Valokayan, yeah. So, samam kaya shirogrivam, it is about placement of your head and your torso. And dharaya chalan sthiram. So, basically keeping your head and your torso and everything erect. Okay, your head, your torso, your body, everything should be erect. And we should sit in a way that we are perfectly still. Achalam sthira, without moving, absolutely still. Okay. Samprekshya nasikagram swam. So this is where we are talking of where are we looking at? The tip of our nasika. Okay. Now, not like this. Otherwise, this is going to give us a headache very quickly. When this is talked about, it basically means that you have to look higher up. Okay. So think of looking out at a far off sunrise or sunset. We have our eyes slightly upwards, not very high up. We're not looking at here. We're not looking here, but high up and in a completely relaxed way. Okay, so there should be no pain between the eyebrows. So when I used to do it, sometimes I did it very wrongly. I would literally like go focus here or focus here. Within like 2 seconds, I would start to have pain in my headache. I was like, I don't know why. How do people do this? I think in one of the classes, somebody who was talking about meditation actually explained, and I was like, oh my god, I've been doing it wrong all my life. No wonder I get headache. So you're supposed to look far out into the horizon. That's how you should, like, your eyes should be slightly upwards, and then your eyelids should fall down, but don't close them completely. We typically close them. I still haven't mastered this myself. I end up closing them, but the problem with closing is that it is very easy to fall asleep if you're not aware. So the siddhas, when they do this thing, they just allow the lids to fall down, but it does not completely close. It remains half open, half closed. I think Kavita would be much better person than me to talk about this. So we'll invite her. I'm not going to put her on a spot right now. I've not given her any notice. But at some point of time during the session, we'll request her to actually conduct a proper meditation session for us. And then, we'll get into all of these details and technically a lot better.
Sure, Tohina, thank you so much. Just let me know whenever everybody is ready, we will do it, one of the classes.
Done. We'll do. Okay, so let's read.
Holding the torso, head and neck erect, perfectly still and steady, looking at the tip of the nose and not in any other direction. Placement of various parts of the body. The torso, head and the neck should be held erect in one perpendicular line. There should be no pain or tension in muscles or thighs or or the knees, and the entire weight of upper part of the body should rest in the lower end of the spinal column. This can be ensured by adjusting the trunk, bending it slightly backwards and forwards. As soon as the correct posture is attained, there is a feeling of weightlessness, thus keeping fatigue at bay. And then the mind attains concentration immediately. After attaining the correct posture as outlined above, the aspirant should hold the body in a perfectly stationary position. 3. The eyes should not be open fully and the lids should fall under their own weight. There should be no tension in the muscles of the eyebrows to keep the eyes open or closed. Complete closure of eyes might include sleep during the meditation, and keeping them open may divert the gaze to objects around. The gaze should be in a direction of the tip of the nose. Such posture helps concentration of the mind.
Now, I'm not going to get into the technicalities of this because you've just discussed it. But what is important takeaway here is, why is there so much focus? There is a lot of work that has gone into the art of holding your body still. Why is all of this there? Because when we start meditating, we will realize that the biggest impediment in doing meditation is going to be our body. We sit down, immediately it will start screaming. My knee is paining, my ankle's paining, I've got my tension in the thighs, now my upper back has a problem, my lower back has a problem, I'm hungry, now my tummy is going gur 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 gur, oh, I should be eating food. Like, body is the biggest impediment. That is why the karma yoga, the control over the body and our senses is extremely essential and is pushed upon so much. When we start to have control over our body, a disease-free body, now I'm saying that the body is the greatest impediment, and makes it sound like it's really negative, but actually body is the only vehicle we have through which we can attain liberation in the first place. Now, that is why it's become so important that we pay attention to our bodies. We actually respect it, revere it as the temple that it is. This is the real temple, not the temples out there. Your body is the greatest temple wherein the Bhagwanji of yourself lives within. Next time we're eating, we're drinking, we're doing whatever we are doing, we are exercising, we must remember what abuse are we doing to our body. And control over what we eat, what we drink, when we eat, when we drink, how we eat, how we drink. All of that focus is towards one end. It is that itself is not an end in itself, right? We're doing all of this for a reason, to make sure that this body is healthy. If it is a healthy, strong body with healthy, strong minds, it is the greatest and the best vehicle for us to get to moksha. And that's why all of this that we've been talking about, and hence the focus on the correct Asan Siddhi too. So initially, in the initial forms, in the initial times, this would be another thing that we'll have to work upon to make sure that we are able to sit in the correct posture for longer periods of time, and it will develop slowly. We start from 15 minutes. Eventually, at some point of time, we'll get to like 2.5, 3 hours, right? It takes years, like tens of years to get there. But we start somewhere, start with 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, right? Kavita, did you want to say something? I thought I saw your hand up. No? No? Okay, cool. Okay, let's move on. Rashi, would you like to read with us?
Yeah. Sorry. Now the Lord tells about the thought that should fill the mind.
Prashantatma vigat bhiha.
Prashantatma vigat prima.
Brahmachari vrate sthitaha.
Brahmachari vrate sthita.
Manah samyam machittaha.
Manah sanyam machistato.
Manah samyamya machittaha.
Manam sanyam mayachita.
Yukta asita matparaha.
Yukta asit matpara.
Prashantatma, serene minded. Vigarbhihi is free of fear. Brahmachari is a vow of chastity. Sthitaha, established in. Mana sanyamya is a mind that is under sanyam, under control. Machitaha, yukta asit matparaha. That means with basically your entire mind and your chit is concentrated on matparaha, on him alone, on Bhagwanji alone. So we are going to focus on what should be, what kind of thoughts or what kind of resolve should be there in the mind of the Dhyan Yogi.
The aspirant should be spring-minded, free of fear, firm in the work of chastity, with full concentration of mind and thoughts focused on me and transcendent. Firm resolve of the mind of a Dhyan yogi. The word brahmacharya literally means the focusing of the thoughts of the mind on the supreme. For this, chastity is extremely essential, all thoughts of the opposite sex being completely vanished. A sense of fearlessness can be cultivated by responding complete faith in the power of the Almighty, leaving no place for any apprehension in the mind. Concentration of the mind can be achieved by the repeated contemplation of the Lord as omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. Certainty of the mind can be cultivated by not entertaining any thoughts of the perplexities of life and substituting them with supreme faith in the Lord. Dependence on the Lord of success in meditation can be secured by thinking of Him as the ultimate refuge, ultimate goal, and the object of all loving thoughts. Thus, in the practice of meditation, contemplation of the sagun or the attribute aspect of the reality is more convenient than that of the nirgun or the absolute aspect. In fact, the attributed aspect with form or without form, and the absolute aspect are both aspect of the supreme. Whatever aspect suits the temperament, circumstances, and intensity of practice should be the adopted for meditation.
So in this shloka, the first time we have encountered the words sagun and nirgun aspects of Brahma. This is the first time we've come across. The next 3 chapters are going to dwell a lot more. When we go to Bhakti Yoga, not just 3, in fact 4 chapters will dwell a lot deeper into the what is Sagun aspect of the Lord, what is Nirgun aspect, and what is the value they both bring, and how should we be looking to interact with them. Okay, so just to keep it very simple for now, we will dwell into it later when the right chapters come. Sagun is something that has attributes, and Nirgun is attributeless. Anything that we see or feel or look at has attributes through which we perceive them. Let's take an example. Okay, so let's look at a tree. If you look at a tree, when you look at that object, it has a form and we give it a name, whatever language we may use. In English, we'll call it a tree. In Hindi, we'll call it ped, right? So it has a form, it has a name. You dwell deeper. What is this made of? The tree is made of bark, leaves, fruits, branches, roots. All of these components of the tree, each has a form and a name that we've associated with it. You dwell deeper and deeper into it. You keep breaking it down into smaller and smaller components until you reach the molecular level. Even at the molecular level, you will say, boss, there is this molecule here which has certain form, and that molecule must be exactly of that form, right? H2O is the molecule for water. It has to have 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. If you don't have 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen, it is not water. If you put 1 more oxygen into it, it becomes H2O2, it becomes peroxide, right? It is not water any longer. right? Oxygen is O2. It is not O3. O3 becomes ozone. So even at the molecular level, there is an exact structure that must be there, and we have a form and we'll have a name for it. Now you keep breaking it down into subatomic particles also. You go down to boson, you go down to fermium. Everything will still have a form and a name. Okay. Now for this form and name, for this to come together, there is a certain amount of knowledge built in. There is knowledge built in to say O2 is what will create oxygen. And this is how the structure of the atom is going to be. There is going to be proton, there is neutron, there is electrons around it. There is knowledge, there is intelligence built in at the deepest levels, right? To create an atom, you have to have this knowledge, right, of three things being put together. There is knowledge, intelligence built in there, and then there is power that has been applied to it to put it together in that format. Whether you look at it at an atomic level, or whether you look at it at a galaxy level, you look at our solar system, there is certain knowledge that is built in. There is this knowledge that we learn from physics, right? There are gravitational laws, there are this laws, that laws that are going to create the entire solar system to move in a certain manner and stay stable in that fashion, where in the way it does. And there is power, there is energy that has gone into it to keep it moving or keep it stable and sustainable, right? There's power and there is knowledge at every level of creation, at every level of form that we see, however gross or however subatomic and subtle it may be. So this knowledge and power is within us as well, right? So the way we perceive things, it comes into our brain fires neutrons, and it tells the rest of the body what to do. If we see somebody holding a gun, our brain will perceive, oh, there is a gun, and then it will evaluate the situation, and then it will fire messages to the rest of the body to shout help, or to say please don't shoot me, or to freeze, or to run, right? All of those things, there is knowledge, and then there is the knowledge that the brain is using and saying, oh, this is the situation, this is how it should be, this is what I should do. There is power, the messages it sends through the nervous system, there is a power that's associated with which that message comes, and then our limbs move, our actions happen. So there is knowledge, there is power. But if you are unconscious, right, if you are unaware, if you are unconscious, all this knowledge and power is still there in your body. It exists, but can it function? Cannot function. You can only use that knowledge and power if you are aware, if you are awake, if you are conscious. There is a person lying next to you who's unconscious, who has the same knowledge and power built into his body, but he cannot use it because he's unconscious. Similarly, going back to the previous examples, all knowledge and all power that is built into every single form in this world is powered by consciousness. It is powered by a certain consciousness principle. It is all pervasive. That all pervasive consciousness is the Nirgun aspect of the Lord, the Nirgun Nirakar. And the Nirgun Nirakar is what we call the Brahma. When the Brahma wields his power through Maya, he creates forms with various attributes. Okay? And this world, this entire creation is because of Maya. And what is Maya made up of? We've talked about it very briefly before. The three gunas, the Sat, the Raj, the Tam. And we'll have an entire chapter where we will discuss this way more deeply and understand Maya. We'll understand the Sat, Raj, Tam. Okay? But at a high level, I'm just giving you a very high level view of it. We'll get into deeper details of everything for us to understand over next 12 chapters after this. Okay, but there is this Nirgun aspect and this Sagun. Sagun is anything that you can see, you can touch, you can taste, you can smell, you can feel, you can think. Any of those aspects, that means as soon as you can see, feel, touch, think, you can perceive it in any manner, whether it is in a gross format. I can touch this book, so this is Sagun. Even if it is subtle, like I sense something, I thought of this, I felt this, even those are being perceived by our senses or our mind or our thought, or the thought is in the intellect, right? Even those are sagun aspects. Sagun sakar, what you can see and feel. Sagun nirakar, what you can feel and think and sense. But they are all sagun. Nirgun is the much deeper level. The only way, you cannot say anything about Nirgun. The moment you say that this is it, you have converted it into a Sagun piece. If you can point to it, if you can say it, if you can perceive it, it is Sagun. Whether it is manifest or unmanifest, we'll get into these details later. But that's how the entire thing that we can perceive, everything we can perceive with our senses is only Sagun. So when we are meditating, it is much easier for us to meditate on the Sagun aspect, not the Nirgun aspect, because Nirgun aspect is impossible for us to perceive. We do not have the tool set to perceive it. To understand that, imagine there is ultrasonic sound out there. There are ultraviolet rays out there. Our eyes, our ears are not the right instrument to perceive them. That doesn't mean that they don't exist. We just don't have the right instruments. When science built the right instruments, we were able to perceive stuff that was outside of our current instruments that God's given us, right? And with the right instruments, we could sense them. Similarly, currently, the way we are, we do not have the skill set or the instruments to understand Nirgun. The only way to understand is through a very subtle mind. When the mind becomes subtle enough, it will be able to transcend the Maya. It will be able to transcend the Sato Gun. We say between the three gunas, Sat Gun is the highest. We have to go even past that, because that still is in this reality. It is still in the Sagun part of the world. We go past that. And how does that happen? Only through a subtle mind and intellect. And how do we create that subtle mind and intellect? Through purification of mind. So everything we are doing through Karma Yoga, through Dhyan Yoga, is to purify our mind, to make it subtler and subtler and subtler, so that at one point of time we will be able to get ourselves towards Nirgun Gyan. Why is Nirgun Gyan so important? Now this is going to get too theoretical, so we'll talk about it later in the subsequent chapters. For the purposes here, it is enough for us to know that everything that we can perceive is Sagun, and hence when we meditate, whether we are meditating on an object, an idol, a mantra, breath, thought, imagination, some visualization, or whether it is a sound, everything is Sagun aspects. We are meditating on some Sagun aspect of the Lord. But you should always remember that the Sagun aspect is a representation of that higher Nirgun aspect. We are meditating on him through these Sagun aspects. Don't get attached to any one of them. Okay. We have time. We have time. Okay. Let's go to Shloka 15, but I have a very long commentary on Shloka 15 actually. Although it's very small, and I don't think I'll be able to do justice to it in 15 minutes. I don't want to break it down. So maybe we will stop here for today, just because I'll probably spend a lot of time on Shloka 15 and we're going to go over the time. How does that sound? Maybe close the class a little bit early so that we can start in the next class on Shloka 15. Okay. I think that's what we'll do. So we'll start the closing shlokas. Does anyone have any questions? Any thoughts? Anything to share? Actually, since we have 15 minutes, Kavita, would you mind? Let's close the chapter. Would you like to do a small meditation session for us? We'll have 15 minutes. If you can do that, that would be very good use of time.
And also, I would like to say about this mudras, right? Like, what you are talking about, the eyes, that, focusing on here. And we have the mudras like this, right? Chin mudra, Chinmaya mudra, Adi mudra, various mudras with hand. Eyes also, various mudras are there. One is here, the another one is here.
Mm-hmm.
And like, different because of olden days, that yogis, when they go to that level where they transcend themselves, right? Then they go to the pose on the body, adopt the pose on their own.
Hmm.
like, the Akashi Mudra, this kind of mudras. So what we do in yoga is, if we do the mudra, it transforms us to that state. So that's why we do all these mudras with eyes.
Got it.
And also with the fingers, because this, the awareness will go up when you do chin mudra.
Hmm.
And certain parts will open up. When you're doing abdominal breathing, this mudra will help.
Hmm.
When you're doing the chest breathing, this mudra, Chinmay mudra, will help. And then Adi mudra, it opens the clavicular region. And when you put it together, closer to your navel region, then all the respiratory components, everything will work well. So we had to put this mudra for the deep yogic breathing. So every mudra has its own thing towards. So I just want to say that, because I saw this, the tip of the nose, the direction came, so I just thought I'll just tell that.
Do you mind doing a session for us in the next class where you take us through, like the technical aspects of meditation, and actually like lead us into a meditative, exercise, and we can discuss the technicalities of that after the class, and we'll figure out how much time we want to devote to it. Should it be an entire class, or what all we can cover in it, etc.
Yeah. Would you like to do the same, what I did for Kumar's class, that about the nadis and chakras?
Very short. That was very
Short.
small, right? So we'll do something much more than that, is what I'm envisaging. That was very like tip of the thing.
Yeah.
But what we can do for now is, we've got about 10 minutes. Let's quickly do we'll do the closing shlokas, and then take us through a normal Om meditation that you do, because that itself is like, calming.
Yes.
So we'll end the class in a nice manner.
I have one question relating to the shloka, Kavita. It says when you meditate, you should keep a focus on the tip of your nose. So is usually the center of the eye here or here?
So that is what there is various mudras are there for eyes also. So the center of, Tuhina was saying that look at the horizon, because we shouldn't cross our eyes, whatever mudras we are keeping, we have to be, the eyes need to be relaxed. That is very, very important. So when we cross our eyes to look here like this, then the eyes get the strain. As Tuhina said, headache is very common during meditation. So this is one kind of a mudra where when we see up, that is what we did it in shloka 5.27. That shloka says, look at here, right? And here there is another mudra where we have to, for the better concentration, we have to look at the tip of the nose. That also we are not crossing the eyes. We are looking at the direction like this, like how Buddha eyes and all there, right? Like that.
No, is it with eyes closed, you put your focus, or is it with the eye open, you're keeping your, looking at that part?
So it is like, eyes, it's like, half open kind, little bit open kind, because it needs to fall on its own.
Okay.
And yeah, if it closed fully, it is comfortable, then we can keep it closed. Definitely not fully open, but it's like an automatic process of your eyes, like where you feel that kind of a concentration, and you feel that the mind is like, it comes to the calm, you can just keep the focus there.
So we'll focus on these technicalities in our next class, where Kavita will actually guide us through it.
In our next class, I will be in India. I actually will be in Chennai. So I'm going, so short trip.
We'll decide the time.
Yeah.
We'll decide the time separately. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So we'll come back with the date when we'll do the meditation with Kavita. Okay. Let's start the closing shlokas. We'll have Rituj.
Yes.
I'll just stop recording. Just 1 second.